The rain was relentless, drumming against the pavement as I hurried towards the old theater. It was my sanctuary, a place where I could escape into different worlds, alone. The neon sign flickered, barely visible through the downpour, but it beckoned me. Pushing open the heavy doors, the musty scent of aged velvet and popcorn filled my senses. I always loved the solitude of watching movies alone, especially on stormy nights like this. The lobby was deserted, echoing my solitary footsteps. I chose the latest horror flick. Something about the thrill of fear in a controlled environment appealed to me. As I made my way to the auditorium, the thunder outside seemed to synchronize with my heartbeat. The theater was empty, as expected. I settled into my usual seat, center row, smack in the middle. The screen flickered to life, casting eerie shadows around me. Halfway through the movie, I noticed it. A figure seated in the back row. Unmoving, unnaturally still. I couldn't make out any features, just the silhouette against the dim emergency exit light. A chill ran down my spine. The theater was supposed to be empty. I tried to focus on the movie, but my gaze kept drifting back to that figure. It hadn't moved, not an inch. The air felt heavier, charged with a tension that I couldn't explain. I told myself it was just another moviegoer, but the nagging feeling in my gut said otherwise. Then it moved. Not a casual shift of position, but a jerky, unnatural motion. It was like the figure was glitching in and out of reality. Panic set in. I stood up abruptly, my heart racing. The figure's head turned, its face still shrouded in darkness, but I felt its gaze on me. Piercing. Intense. I couldn't stay. Ignoring the movie, I bolted for the exit. The sound of my footsteps echoed, mingling with the distant rumble of thunder. I didn't dare look back. Outside, the rain had intensified. I ran without direction, wanting only to put as much distance between myself and the theater as possible. Safely at home, I tried to rationalize what I'd seen. It was probably just my imagination, fueled by the storm and the horror movie. But sleep eluded me. The image of the unmoving figure haunted my thoughts, its stillness more terrifying than any ghost or monster on screen. The next day, curiosity overcame my fear. I needed to know if it was real or just my imagination playing tricks on me. I'd returned to the theater under the guise of daylight. The manager, an elderly man with a kindly face, greeted me. I inquired casually about the previous night, trying not to sound as anxious as I felt. His response sent a shiver down my spine. "You were the only one who bought a ticket last night," he said, his brows knitting in confusion. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. The image of the figure was burned into my memory, too vivid to be a figment of my imagination. Later that week, while scrolling through the news on my phone, a story caught my eye. The local missing person case. The photo displayed was eerily familiar. It was the figure from the theater. The same haunting stare, the same rigid posture. The article said they had been missing for weeks. My mind raced with questions. Had I seen a ghost? Or was it some twisted prank? I couldn't tell which possibility was more unsettling. I avoided the theater after that. The thought of sitting in the dark, not knowing what might be lurking in the shadows, was too much to bear. Friends asked why I stopped my movie nights. I just shrugged it off, not sure how to explain without sounding crazy. But the story of the missing person stayed with me. I followed the case, hoping for answers that never came. The person remained missing, their fate unknown. Sometimes I still dream about that night. The figure in the back row, its head slowly turning towards me. Those dreams always leave me awake and shaking, unable to go back to sleep. I often wonder what would have happened if I had stayed in the theater that night. Would the figure have approached me, spoken, revealed its secrets? The mystery remains unsolved, a haunting memory of the night I encountered the unknown in an empty theater. It's a reminder that sometimes the scariest stories are the ones we live ourselves.